very good evening from Washington. And for the first time in this country's history, Americans have elected a black president. Barack Hussein Obama, a first-term senator from Illinois, has defeated John McCain, a veteran political campaigner. It was a decisive victory, and Mr. Obama described it as a defining moment in American history. Let's look at the figures. Barack Obama currently has 349 votes in that electoral college, with 162 for John McCain. 270 is the magic number needed to win the presidency. But the difference in the popular vote is less decisive. The latest projections show Barack Obama on 52% of the vote, with John McCain on 46%. By the way, there was a record 64% turnout by American voters. Well, first this evening, this report on the historic result from our special correspondent, Gavin Hewitt.
From all over America, they had travelled to Chicago to witness history. They poured into Grant Park, believing that during that night, the face of America would change. Early on, key states like Pennsylvania and Ohio went to Obama, and the hopes of this crowd rose. Then at 10 o'clock local time, the screen flashed up 4 words: Barack Obama, President-elect, and Chicago erupted. They embraced, they hugged, they cried. An African American had defied the weight of history and had become the most powerful man in America.
It's so overwhelming. It's a wonderful, wonderful moment for the United States and the world. Sublime. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Simply amazing for the country to come together. All races, religions, it crosses all lines.
Then this vast crowd of several 100,000 watched, mainly in silence, as John McCain conceded.
And my heart is filled with nothing but gratitude for the experience and to the American people for giving me a fair hearing before deciding that Senator Obama and my old friend, Senator Joe Biden, should have the honor of leading us for the next 4 years. Please, please. We fought as hard as we could. And though we fell short, the failure is mine, not yours.
Among his despondent supporters, some were beginning to question the tone of his campaign.
I'm hoping the party learns the lesson that fear, that negative messages don't work.
Then, having taken a call from John McCain, Barack Obama appeared on stage as president-elect. This will be America's first family. They will present a new, diverse face to the United States.
This is an incredible achievement. In just 2 years, he has gone from being a senator to being president-elect. And there are many, many people in this crowd who believe that a night like tonight would never happen.
Barack Obama began by saying his success testified that the American dream lived.
If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer.
He spoke briefly and personally about his children, soon to move to the White House.
Sasha and Malia, I love you both more than you can imagine. And you have earned the new puppy that's coming with us to the White House.
And then, with echoes of John F. Kennedy's inaugural speech, he spoke to the world, to friend and foe alike.
To those who would tear the world down, we will defeat you. To those who seek peace and security, we support you. And to all those who have wondered if America's beacon still burns as bright, tonight we proved once more that the true strength of our nation comes not from the might of our arms or the scale of our wealth, but from the enduring power of our ideals, democracy, liberty, opportunity, and unyielding hope.
He spoke about a 106-year-old woman who had witnessed, among other events, the civil rights struggle and Martin Luther King.
She was there for the buses in Montgomery, the hoses in Birmingham, a bridge in Selma, and a preacher from Atlanta who told the people that we shall overcome. Yes, we can.
Men like Jesse Jackson, who had been at the forefront of that struggle, knew just how far America had traveled last night.
And those who tell us that we can't, we will respond with that timeless creed that sums up the spirit of a people. Yes, we can. Thank you. God bless you. And may God bless the United States of America.
When his family rejoined him on stage, it was a moment he could only have dreamed about. It must have seemed so impossible. But he had detected that America was in the mood for fundamental change. Briefly, he stood alone between the bulletproof panels, the loneliness of power, the certainty that the burden of expectations will be impossible to meet. So history turns. The torch passed last night to a man of high ideals who will face daunting challenges from his very first day in the White House. Gavin Hewitt, BBC News, Chicago.
Well, for so many Americans, Mr. Obama's win has swept away the last racial barrier in American politics. This is a country that just 40 years ago saw bitter struggles over civil rights, and Martin Luther King urged his people to dream of a land where all races were equal. Clive Myrie reports on the potential impact of an African American in the Oval Office.
America's slave past is everywhere, embedded in the DNA of the descendants of those once in chains. Across the South, like here in Atlanta, the Civil War ended bondage, but segregation meant invisible chains. Alvin Pope watched Barack Obama's victory speech last night. It reminded him of his childhood.
Yeah, I was a kid, probably 8, 9 years old. My grandmother and I, we was in a department store, and I was extremely thirsty. It was in the summer, very hot, and I attempted to go get water, and when I started to go towards the water fountain, she grabbed me by my arm and almost snatched it out of joint and said to me, "You can't do that. You can't use that one."
It was for only whites.
It was whites, and it was clearly marked.
Eventually, Black America said no more and defied racism.
Injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
With Barack Obama, is that dream reality? The man on the left with Dr. King is another civil rights leader from the 1960s, Lonnie King.
I think that Dr. King would be very pleased, very proud, and also I think he'd feel very vindicated by what has happened. Obama is asking America to remove this duality that exists in America. We practice one thing and we preach something else.
This part of the South was once nothing but plantation fields. Cotton was king in those slavery days. Ever since Black America has been writing new, more hopeful chapters in its history, moving from the plantation now to the White House. Barack Obama is, of course, not descended from slaves. The son of a white woman from Kansas and an African father, he embodies a post-civil rights era, but he knows he's indebted to those who fought.
And you will be 107 when
right.
he's inaugurated.
That's right.
Would you like to go?
Oh, I'll be there.
You'll be...
Clive Myrie, BBC News in Atlanta.
Well, President-elect Obama has stayed away from the cameras so far today, except we did get one glimpse. The glimpse we got was as he left his home in downtown Chicago just a short time ago to take his regular fix at the gym. That's the only glimpse we've had today. But the man currently in the job in the White House here, George W. Bush, did make an appearance describing Barack Obama's victory as a triumph of the American story.
It'll be a stirring sight to watch President Obama, his wife Michelle, and their beautiful girls step through the doors of the White House. I know millions of Americans will be overcome with pride at this inspiring moment that so many have waited so long.
President Bush speaking at the White House just a short while ago. Well, he ran on a campaign of change, of course, and now President-elect Obama will have to deliver. Last night, he talked about the challenges ahead: 2 wars, a planet in peril, and the worst financial crisis in a century. What will the priorities be? Huw Pym has the first of 3 special reports on the road ahead. We start with the economy.
America's smokestacks are spluttering, the economy is barely flickering and heading towards recession. The banking crisis, which saw Lehman's collapse and staff on the streets, is only partially fixed. House prices are still falling and homeowners defaulting on mortgages. Barack Obama will find there's a lot on his plate.
These are the toughest challenges faced by a new president since Franklin Roosevelt. The banks are broken. We import too much oil, which is costing us a fortune, and we're borrowing $50 billion a month from foreigners to finance our trade deficit.
On Wall Street, those economic problems were foremost in traders' minds. Shares opened lower. The Obama victory had been widely anticipated. As they say in the market, buy on the rumour, sell on the news. In the City of London and other financial capitals around the world, there will be intense interest in the economic policies enacted by the new president. There has been concern about some of the protectionist rhetoric used, for example, favouring American companies with American workers and penalising those which outsource jobs away from the US.
The danger is that this sparks off snowball effects in terms of reactions in other countries such as China, other emerging markets, and maybe in Europe as well, which respond to this like for like. And that would be a very negative thing.
Wall Street wants to know which way the new president's heading. The rest of the world hopes he can restore the health of the global economy's powerhouse. Huw Pym, BBC News.
Down the barrel of a gun. That's been the image of American foreign policy in recent years. That costly, controversial war in Iraq with such disastrous consequences.
The spirit of a people.
But now a chance to repair that damaged reputation. For those celebrating in New York last night, that in part is what Barack Obama's victory stands for.
This is going to change our image in the world and our image of ourselves in the country.
This is the first time I've felt proud of my generation.
And across the world, there's been an outpouring of goodwill as citizens and leaders, East and West, echoed that hope and offered congratulations.
This is a moment that will live in history as long as history books are written. I've talked to Senator Obama on many occasions, and I know that he is a true friend of Britain.
But what will change? Al-Qaeda's mastermind, Osama bin Laden, is still at large. America's next president has pledged to make finding him and fighting the Taliban his priority. So, fewer US troops in Iraq and more in Afghanistan. Though the Afghan president today warned that further airstrikes on civilians was no way to fight terrorism. And in Iran, they're wary of Obama's offer to hold direct talks to try to solve the nuclear row. High expectations everywhere and a daunting task ahead to meet them. Bridget Kendall, BBC News.
With every blast of greenhouse gas, America under Bush attracted more criticism over global warming, for years playing down the risks and going slow in international talks.
Thank you.
At the most recent climate summit in Bali last December, the American delegation was under pressure.
Please get out of the way.
Well, that's set to change dramatically. Barack Obama talks of the planet being in peril and how action must be bold. He's certainly talking in radical terms with the potential to transform this issue, setting a target for an 80% cut in carbon emissions by 2050, one of the deepest anywhere, pushing low-carbon technology like electric cars to get 1 million on the road in the next 7 years, and ordering all government buildings, like the White House, to get 30% of their power from renewable sources. For those who've battled with George Bush, this change is very welcome.
Excuse me for being a bit excited. I think after 8 years, 8 lost years, through the actions of the White House and the United States, we're finally going to emerge into a situation where we can even see American leadership on this critically important issue.
But is this realistic with the economic downturn? Well, the plan is to encourage green jobs, for example, to help car makers produce greener cars. It's certainly bold, and the world will be watching. David Shukman, BBC News.
Our guide there to some of the priorities ahead for President Obama. Justin Webb, our North America editor, is with me. Justin, the extent of what's happened is just slowly sinking in.
And you know, Huw, it's not about him, it's about them, it's about the American people, because a change has happened that we didn't really notice politically. The component parts of America has changed, but it hasn't shown politically because a lot of those component parts haven't bothered voting. They came out and voted yesterday, and what it brings home to you is the diverse nature of this nation. Take a state like Virginia, which Obama won. 50% of the population of Virginia has come in the last 10 years. They tend to be more ethnically diverse. They tend to be better educated. They tend to live in suburbs. They tend to want different things for themselves and their children that previous Americans living in a place like Virginia would have wanted. It's those seismic changes at the level of where Americans live their lives and the kind of views they have on world subjects and on domestic subjects, that has been the real change. Obama is merely demonstrating that change to the outside world.
We'll have a word about the challenges a little later in the programme, Justin. Thanks very much. In the meantime, Sophie, back to you.
Thank you very much. The time is coming up to 6:20. Coming up on the programme, another history maker. Britain's Lewis Hamilton comes home to thank the people who helped him become Formula One's youngest and first black world champion.
Later on BBC London, a mother takes her fight against a new academy to the High Court. Plus, our correspondent's personal quest to discover his connections with the Great War. Plus, of course, the bonfire night weather, all coming up for you at 6:30.
Daniel James was a corporal in the Territorial Army. He worked as an interpreter for Britain's top general in Afghanistan. But today he was found guilty of spying for Iran, his native country. A jury at the Old Bailey was told that his treachery could have cost the lives of British soldiers. Our defence correspondent Caroline Wyatt reports.
Bodybuilder, salsa dancer, army interpreter and now spy. Iranian-born Daniel James led a colourful life. He owned a salsa club in Brighton, calling himself Danny James, King of Salsa. But he was also a Territorial Army corporal, called up in 2006 to serve in Afghanistan, where he became interpreter for the then NATO commander, General Sir David Richards, a position giving him valuable access and high-level security clearance. In court, General Richards described Corporal James as a Walter Mitty figure, with his flamboyant, sometimes odd behaviour, including pretending to the Afghans that he was a general rather than a corporal. Daniel James told the court he was a voodoo priest who'd cast a black magic spell to keep General Richards safe from the Taliban. The prosecution said the corporal began to spy for Iran when he grew bitter at not being promoted to sergeant. In his testimony, Daniel James admitted sending cryptic emails to the Iranian military attaché in Kabul, including a warning about British troops in Iraq, though he said he didn't mean to do harm. Today, the jury found Daniel James guilty of spying for the country of his birth, though the jury is still deliberating over 2 other counts. Caroline Wyatt, BBC News.
A British soldier has been killed in Afghanistan. He was from the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Gurkha Rifles, and died yesterday afternoon when his patrol came under attack from enemy fire in Helmand province. His family has been informed. There's another man who's made history this week, Lewis Hamilton, the 23-year-old from Stevenage, who became Formula One world champion. Today, he came home to thank the people at the McLaren Team HQ who helped him win the title. Ollie Foster reports.
This was his first day back in the office. Lewis Hamilton may be the face of Formula One, but these are the brains behind his success. And they welcomed home the youngest champion in Formula One history, the first black champion in a world that, of course, now has its first black American president.
Good morning, Mr. President. No, I'm very happy. I've tried to watch it as close as I could and got a huge amount of respect for both candidates, but very, very happy and proud to see Obama at front. I think it's great for the world, so congratulations to him.
Also causing a stir today was his pop star girlfriend Nicole. Her boyfriend could become the first billionaire sportsman.
It doesn't really make a difference. I mean, what does that mean?
Really?
Well, what can you do with £1 billion?
Money may not be Hamilton's motivation, but this most certainly is. Apparently he's done a deal with Ron Dennis, the McLaren team boss, that if he wins 3 world titles, then this £5 million supercar is all his. But maybe Hamilton should double-check the exact terms of that deal.
I want everybody to know, because things get distorted, OK? He's got to win 3 world championships to get this, OK? 3.
Ollie Foster, BBC News, Woking.
In a moment, we'll be going back to America to join Huw again on this extraordinary day. But before we do that, let's get the weather here with Daniel Corbett. Hello.
Hello, Sophie. We've had that stubborn low cloud with us through the course of the day. And bear it in mind tonight, because bonfire night, perhaps you are going to be out and about with the bonfires. It'll be misty and murky, particularly with the smoke sort of billowing up in amongst that low cloud. We've had that cloud just sitting across the British Isles. Low pressure to the south has been just feeding it in. And through the night, there'll be some drizzle. Notice as well, a bit more persistent rain to the east coast. There'll be some mist, maybe some hill fog as well. But with the blanket of cloud, temperatures don't drop away too much. So it will be a chilly night, no real problems with frost. 6 to 10 towards the southeast as we start off Thursday. And sounding like a broken record, it's a cloudy, it's a grey start, but things are going to change. Look at first off towards the northeast, area of wet weather there, and also this next lump of blue. That starts to ease in. That's the next weather system, almost like cleaning the slate, that will start to change things. Here's Wales for the afternoon. Still a bit on the cloudy side, maybe a few bright spells. And you can see that wet weather working across parts of Ireland, but for the rest of Northern Ireland, some bright spells, maybe the odd spot of drizzle the further east you are, and over parts of Scotland too. I think the far northwest of Scotland, the northwest Highlands, again having the best of the bright spells, whereas eastern Scotland, much of northeast England, a bit of a wet afternoon here with this weather system bending in the area blue. Drizzle the further south and east you are, but if anything through the afternoon, maybe not as much of it. To the southeast, 1 or 2 spots here. Double figures, maybe 12 for Southampton, and as we work south and west, just starting to see some brightness. But notice that area blue, that's our next weather system, which just starts to work in and finally sort of starts to break up this cloud as it does. But you can see quite a low as well. The lines, the isobars, closer they are, stronger the winds. So the bend of wet weather works in for the course of Friday and then changes things. We have that weather front moving through for the course of really Friday afternoon. Then behind it, some sunshine, but the wind picking up too, temperatures 9 to further south 12, and then we keep with the wet and windy weather as you go into the course of the weekend. More details if you need that, just go online. But now let's go back to Huw in Washington.
Daniel, thank you very much. Yeah, welcome back to Washington. Barack Obama, as we were saying, the son of a white mother and a Kenyan father. And the Kenyan authorities declared a national holiday today to celebrate his victory. His grandmother still lives in the west of the country, and our correspondent Karen Allen has been to pay her a visit.
Scenes of utter jubilation on Kenyan soil when the moment of history came. Some had been up all night anticipating a win. Then, just after sunrise, it was confirmed. Young and old alike enjoying this piece of history, celebrated side by side. A defining moment not only for the US, but for Kenya and the man they consider their son.
At this defining moment, change has come to America.
Well-wishers flocked to the Obama family home. And unfazed by international media attention, Barack Obama's grandmother, Sarah, could barely contain her excitement. Laughing with joy, she said if she laughed anymore, she feared she might die, and she urged her grandson to promote peace. Twins Barack and Michelle were among at least 8 babies we found, named after the presidential couple. There will be many more. Meanwhile, back in Kogelo, the party has only just begun.
Thursday has been declared a national holiday here in Kenya, a symbol of just how deeply this victory is being felt. Karen Allen, BBC News in Kogelo, West
Karen
Kenya.
there with all the colourful celebrations in Kenya. Justin's with me again. Justin, we talked about challenges. What are the big ones?
I mean, you could argue that no American president has ever come to power with more huge challenges. FDR came to power in 1932 just as the Depression was starting, but didn't have 2 wars as well. There are huge challenges right across the swathe of issues that are domestic and they're international. Plainly domestically, a huge issue with the economy and a huge issue with expectations from the American people that he does something quickly that makes things better for them. he may not be able to achieve it. Abroad, Iraq, he wants to withdraw combat troops. What if the people on the ground say it's not a good idea? In Afghanistan, he wants the Europeans to give more in terms of troops and money. What if they say no? With Guantanamo Bay, he wants to get rid of Guantanamo Bay. What if other countries won't take the people? It's terribly, terribly difficult for him.
Justin, thank you very much. Justin Webb there, our North America editor. That's it from Washington for now. We'll be back at 10 o'clock as Americans, of course, take in the news that their next president will be an African-American, Barack Obama, who drew people to the polling stations in record numbers, inspired by his call for change. There's a special edition of Newsnight on BBC Two at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll leave you with the defining images of a night that no one is likely to forget.
Barack Obama will be the 44th president of the United States.
I've been waiting all my life just to see a black president.
I think this brings everybody together and puts us on a path to a lot better things in the future.
Time coming. But tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Tonight on BBC London News.
God bless him. Mwah! I love him. I love him. He is leader.
The Obama effect spreads across the Atlantic to the streets of the capital. We'll be asking whether his victory has the power to change the political landscape of London. Also tonight. A pathologist tells the Menezes inquest he was misled by the police.